Hey everyone, we're going to get started in just about 2 minutes. Okay, well, that timer didn't have any sort of big explosion at the end like last week's pizza explosion. But hi everyone, I'm Nicholas from Pictor, and can I just get a quick sign of life from folks? Can you just shout out a hello? Let me go off mute for a second.
Howdy.
Howdy.
And Nick.
Hi.
Hi. Hi.
Hello.
So, hello.
Hello.
Nice to see some returning faces here. So just a little bit of housekeeping as we get started. I'm one person. I'm going to do my best to keep an eye on the chat. If I do not respond there, please feel free to turn on your microphone and shout out a question in real time. A lot of the feedback that we've gotten has been that I've been going a little bit fast in this. So please, if you need me to slow down, I'm going to try and stay slow, but do not be shy about turning on your microphone and asking me to slow down a little bit. So yep, housekeeping is I will keep an eye on the chat the best I can, and we'll circle back at the end. If you have questions in real time, blurt them out. If I can answer in real time, I will. And this will be recorded. So if there's something that went a little bit too fast, you didn't quite understand, and you're too shy to shout out, you'll be able to watch it afterwards. So I'm really excited today because we've gotten a lot of feedback about how great the AI is. And we've had some requests coming in for features that actually already exist. So for example, background removal, we have it, or the ability to do non-AI, we have that as well. So what I'm gonna do today is I thought the funnest way to show this would be to actually create a vintage old photo strip, a 2x6 photo strip without any AI, so everyone can see how we can do that from start to finish. So the other thing I'm gonna do is share my entire screen. So you're gonna see Photoshop, you're gonna see, a lot of times I'll be like, no, I'm gonna open such and such, but you can't actually see the modal. So you're gonna see that today. The one caveat with that is there's gonna be a lot on the screen, so some things may get small. If you need me to zoom in on something, please unmic and let me know as well, okay? Cool, so we are going to hop in and we'll go from there. So I'm gonna go ahead and share that screen. Here we go. Can everybody see my screen? Can anybody see my screen? Anyone?
Yeah, I see it.
Okay, cool. So it is a little lonely up here. If I ask a question, please someone take one for the team and shout out. And I may call on some folks. just so that way I can get some verbals as well. So let's dive in. So I'm going to go ahead and I have a bunch of my research open in this window that I did for this. And we'll come back to some of these in a moment. But in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and log into Pictor. Let me make sure I'm in my test account. Great, here I am. So we're going to start today by creating a advanced event. So let's call this film strip, or no, vintage photo strip. And let's go into advanced mode here. Let's create the event. So something I want to be really clear about is you need to hit this advanced mode in order to do what I'm about to do today. So I'm going to go to create event. And so a lot of the things that we're going to be looking at today are in the pro plan. So if you don't have a pro plan and you're trying to find these things, that may be why. So next I'm going to go over to flow. And I'm going to start by adding a template. We're in our vintage photo strip folder, and I'm going to go ahead and create a template. So I'm going to now go to my 2x6 photo strip because I want this to be a vertical 2x6. I can quite simply start this by going here. I want to make this a 1:1 ratio. I want to add 2 more. So let's make this another 1:1, another 1:1. So now I have 3 there. I've selected all 3 of those images. So if I move here, you'll see that I have the 3 images, and I want those stacked for the time being. So I'm going to undo that using this button up here. So I'm going to undo my movements. Cool. So now I have all 3 up here. I'm going to select all 3. And the reason I'm doing that is because I want to resize them together. So if I hold the shift key down, I can resize and keep the ratio. If I do not hold the shift key down, we're going to see them move in different directions. And that's going to make the images squished in ways that we're not going to be happy with, or at least I'm not going to be happy with. And you'll see we also have some grids starting to pop up. So now you're going to see that these images are centered. And what I'm going to do now is just move this. Oops, it looks like we didn't actually have them all selected. So let me go back and do that again. So I'm going to select all of these images. And pull these up. And now you'll see, since we selected them all, they're now all the same size. And I'm going to simply move this one down here, move number 2 down here. And I'm just going to kind of move these around by eye for now. So I just want to make sure these are all centered in on the strip. And let's call this photo strip. Save. So out of the gate, we've now just created a photo strip with 1. Oh, there we go. Photo strip with 1, 2, and 3 frames on it. So now let's go back to our preview mode. Let's go into simulate. And let's hop in and check that over here. Sandra, I see your question. We may not get to custom fonts today because this is about how to make an old photo strip, but we can touch on that in the Q&A section towards the end if we have time.
Thank you.
Yep, no problem. So I'm going to go ahead and test this here. And so we're going to capture 1. We're going to take our second image. Oh, press capture. 2. And then let's take our third image. And you'll see that we've made our initial photo strip with 1, 2, and 3. Okay, is everyone following that?
Yes.
assume everyone's following that.
Everybody's following.
Okay, we're gonna go to finish. Next, we're going to come back over to this, and I'm gonna go ahead and open this up again. And what we're gonna do now in Photoshop is start with a new file. It lets me select Photoshop. Come on, where are we? Oh, sorry, it's popped up in a different. So we're gonna make this inches. So let's call this 2 inches by 6 inches. And prior to us hopping on together, I made a bunch of different assets that we are going to pull here. Some I pulled from Pexels, some I found on the web, some I made in ChatGPT. And so what I want to do now is start to create what to me looks like an old photo strip. So I'm going to pull, let's go with this one. We'll pull this. I'm going to Command A. So I'm going to copy all of that and go back to my photo strip. And for the time being, I'm going to make my background black on this just so I can see where these files are going in when I drop them quickly. So I'm going to now just pop this in, and we're going to move a little bit fast today. I would normally be a little bit more anal about how I'm building this, but for the sake of today, I want to make sure we have time to talk through some of these different things. So one of the things about an old photo strip is it's not perfect. That's sort of what makes it beautiful. So in modern times, we would get all this math perfect, but in a photo strip from an old machine, some of these things would be a little bit off. So I'm going to emulate a little bit of that today. Great. And I'm going to now go in to these layers. And because of the way I'm assembling this, I have some sort of like rough edges. So what I'm going to do is group this. So Command G to group that in Photoshop. I'm going to make a duplicate just so I have it in case I need it. I'm going to come in here and now see where my layers lie. So this is actually the bottom. So I'm going to rename this bottom so I don't have to keep wondering which it is. And I'm going to take my erasing brush. I'm going to shrink that down, and I want it to be really soft on the edges. And I'm just going to slowly take away, oops, a little too soft. I want this to be more like a 10. And I want to just slowly take away this top edge. Great. And then next we have our middle. And I'm going to just do the same here. So we're slowly just making it so this overlaps nicely. And then there's nothing we need to do on the top. On the bottom here, I want to leave a little bit of area, and we'll be able to show, maybe we'll use the custom font down here. We can show that. And I'm going to copy that, paste it in place, and now just drag it to open it up so we have some room for branding down here. And you'll start to see it coming together. So these openings are where we're going to put our photos. So let's just grab, I have over here a test shot that we can use. And it's very big compared to this. So we're going to shrink it down. And now I'm going to just duplicate it so we can have this as our tester here. And I'm going to reverse the order of these. Great. And we'll group these as well. So we'll call this our test photo. So now what we can do to start mimicking older photos again is we can take some other types of overlays, right? So I'm going to go back into my modal, and I'm going to pick some of these items here. So let's start with this. And one of the other keys that makes these old photo strips beautiful is that they have these like real imperfections to them based on the technology, right? So like maybe we got a big streak across it because the developer chamber there was something wrong with it, right? So let's go and see what that would look like if we just put it up along the edge here. And let's change the mode of this to now a soft light or screen or multiply. I'm just checking different things. So I think it looks great with a soft light here. And this is emulating what you would see coming out of a photo strip. Sorry, out of an old photo booth with bad chemicals per se. Then we can pull this other one. And for this, I really just want this edge here. And now let's go back into this. Let's pull this around. Let's make this significantly smaller. And this is, I'm just playing, like some of this may work, some of this may not work. And so let's see now what this looks like with a color burn, or let's see, soft light is nice there. And now let's just pull this across the whole frame. And you're starting to see these like kind of come to life a little bit more with more texture, excuse me, across them. So now we're getting those imperfections. The next thing that I always think about with these old vintage color booths, especially the color ones, is this like really bright red curtain. So I've found one of those, and this one is not necessarily one that I can license. So this is actually coming from another photo booth company. So what I'm going to do here is go into ChatGPT, and I'm going to straight up ask it to create for me. Please create a vintage red background as seen in a antique photo booth. Please use this image for reference. So this is a great way to create assets as you need them. So I don't want to steal this image from another photo booth company, but I, much like an artist or a painter would say, this is what my inspiration is. I want to now create that asset. While that's happening over here, I realize that I have a mess down at the bottom here. So I'm going to go back into this, and I'm going to pull my brush just across the bottom to fill this in. Does anyone have questions at this point?
Hey, Nick, this is Mitch.
Mitch.
Yeah, I've got a question.
Yep.
Do the spots have to all be identical in size, or will the software adjust the live view to fit, you know, if one of them happens to be a little taller or a little bit, you know, not exactly the same aspect ratio as the others?
Yeah, you could have different aspect ratios for sure. So when we go back into the panel where I'm making this, I'll show you how we can change the different aspect ratios. And I'll also show you how I'm going to clean up for that
Okay.
in a little bit of like a sloppy zone here.
Cool, thanks.
Cool. Yep, you bet. Thanks for the question. So
could you also, when you go back, could you slowly show us how you got to this template builder as well? I know that you click it real quick.
Yeah, of course. So on the left side here, we've created our background, and everything about it to me is great, except it's not that weird, vibrant red that almost seems, it's like a weird 70s red, like that TWA hotel. If we didn't have a live demo here, I may spend some more time in ChatGPT trying to match that. But to expedite this, what I'm going to do is just pull this image into Photoshop now. And I'm simply going to pop up that saturation. And I'm going to come through here and do that. Okay. The other thing that I would do if I was being super anal here is I would actually go into ChatGPT and get 3 variations of this, because while it's going to be the exact same curtain, people are going to bump it and we're going to have some variances in the way it looks. So in lieu of doing that, what I'm going to do is just drop this here. So it's going to fill the full frame while we're testing this. And with our tester, I'm just going to simply make this one layer for ease here. And I'm going to select the subject. And you'll see why I'm doing this in a second. And I'm going to remove, whoops, wrong side. And I'm going to remove everything around her. And then I'm just going to now shrink this background down so I can see what that looks like. Great, I'm really liking that. And I'm gonna bring it down again. And now in lieu of doing what I said about making something different, I'm just gonna make these slightly different sizes so that there's a little bit of variation in them. And if I want, I can do this. And I'm gonna just pull it a little taller. So we're gonna now group this and call this our, oops, gotta get them all. Call this our background. Okay. So now I'm going to take this and I'm going to hide our test person. I am going to, yep, that's correct. I want to hide this layer. I want to hide this layer. And I want to take these off the top for now. Okay, so this is our background layer. You'll see here it's sloppy. If I were doing this without an audience, I would probably clean it up because I'm anal, but there's no need to. I'm going to go ahead and export this as a PNG. And I'm going to make a new folder called my exports. And I'm going to label this background image. I'm going to hide that, and I'm going to now find this group, and this is my foreground image. So this is where I want my overlay to be. And I'm realizing also here, we actually, because of the way that I assembled this quickly, we have some rough edges here. So what I'm going to do is just find some old paper corners. Once again, you want to make sure that you have the license to utilize these. Because we're in a quick demo here, I'm just going to pull these. But for a client, I would not do this. I may use these for reference to make something else. But now I'm just going to go ahead and select the subject again. Actually, let me shrink it so it's all in frame. Select the subject. May work on this, yeah. Oops. Invert that, delete what's around it, pop this up into my edges to fill those edges, and turn that around. And as I said, I'm doing a lot of just sort of live testing here, and I don't actually like the way this looks. So we're going to go, for the sake of this demo, with just some raw edges. We can fill in those edges later as we're going. So what I'm being anal about is these things around this side. So what I'm going to do to compensate for that is just pull these open so that they go over the edge. And now, voila, we've signed for that. And let me just make sure these backgrounds still fit. They don't, because I was sloppy. So now let's do the same thing here. Thank you for bearing with me, everyone. And now I'm going ahead and exporting this background again. I'm going to overwrite it so we don't end up with 2. I'm going to now get my foreground. or overlay, as you may want to call it. And then we have these two like imperfection layers. I'm going to call this imperfection 1. And I'm going to call this one imperfection 2. And then before we go on, I'm going to just find, I thought I had some just scratchy stuff. We can come back for that if we want. So in a lot of these situations, it's very easy to accidentally do too much, and that's where I'm probably headed here. So I'll usually go pretty extreme and then start to come backwards. Paul asked, is there a sound voice on the countdown timer? Can you clarify what you mean by that?
Oh, if there's if it says 3, 2, 1 by a sound voice file.
On
Like
the physical app, there is a beep, I believe. I'd have to double check with you. We're usually in such loud environments that sound is not usually heard anyhow.
Gotcha.
But that is definitely something that we can ask for. There is a feedback button down here, and if that is something that is important to you, please do hop in, make a suggestion, and pop it in there, and we'll look into putting it on the roadmap. Thank you for that.
Okay. Okay, no problem.
Cool. Sandra, I think it was you who asked a moment ago how to get here. So going back to, let me just save this, going back to the top, I am now going to look for my photo strip. I think it's an active event. Yeah, vintage photo strip. So since I'm not creating an event, I'm just going to edit and launch. I will then go to my flow. I will then go to photo strip. So this may be closed on your end. So choose experience. If I was creating a new one, I would go to add template. Actually, let's just create a new one. So let's create a new template, 2x6 again. Let's call this vintage photo strip 2. Let's save it. And now let's start to assemble this in the same way that we had just talked about. So let's go ahead and add some images in. Let's first add in our, and I'm going to just upload these from my desktop. Let's first upload the foreground image, because this is going to be our voice of reason here. And what I mean by that is this one has to be the most perfect. So we're going to fill the frame with this. And now, just to make life easy, I'm going to lock that. Next up, I'm going to bring in my image, which is our background image. So this one's the sloppiest. I'm going to go ahead, just for the time being of placement of this, reducing the opacity. And I'm going to drag this up just to make sure it is filling all the right places. Does anyone have questions? I'm going to bring that opacity back up to 100. And now I'm going to go and drop that behind. So essentially now we've made multiple layers. I'm also going to lock that. So if we were looking at this from the side, we have our overlay, which is the frames, and our background behind it. And now I'm going to go and add in a capture. So Mitch, I believe this was your question before. With the capture, I could, in theory, make this one capture and it's just going to be like cut behind. Or in this case, what I want to do is make it 1:1. So we'll make that ratio 1. And what I need to do is kind of pop these behind.
So during the session, the live view will actually match that capture frame?
Yes, the live.
Okay.
So for example, what we can do in the bottom here, I'll show you, is we can make a third capture that is going to be the wrong ratio to fit this, but you'll see that that window changes.
Sure. Okay, cool.
And now, once again, you can get anal about this. I would if we didn't have limited time, but really what's most important is that these are going to be behind that overlay layer. So I'm going to now go back to my layers, and I have my captures, and I Command Z'd and accidentally move some stuff around. So I need to actually, in this case, move my captures to the side and get these frames in the right place. So in my Command Zing, I unlocked things, but since there wasn't a visual to it, I didn't realize. So I'm going to now lock my top layer. I'm going to come down and now move this back into the right place and lock that again. Now I'm going to come over and move my captures to the correct place. And because I have this layer locked now, I could either unlock this layer and move it to the top or move these three. Since there's more of them, I'm going to pull this and just move it to the top and lock it again. So now we have our overlay, our frame in the front, our three images here. So you are seeing them where they stick through. This is a terrible metaphor. And then the background. So what we need to do now is actually click on these images. Actually, I'm going to do this one other way. So I'm going to go back here because I forgot something very important. And that is on this, I want to add a background removal. And in order to see that red curtain behind us, we do have to remove the background on myself when I take this photo. So background removal is something that we just recently exposed in the Pro plan. And we do have two forms of background removal. One is the onboard, so it's local, that will happen on your device, or local in our cloud if you're using a virtual, or a premium, which is going to use remove.bg or clip.io, depending on the need for that particular frame. There will be the free version, which is local, or the premium, which will have a token count against it as well.
Do we use our own remove BG account, or is it just built in?
At the moment, it's built in. We could definitely look into using your own if that's something that's important to you.
For that one, probably not.
Yep.
Things
Cool.
like Twilio, I prefer to, but yeah, that one probably don't care.
For Twilio, I'm 99.9% sure that we do have the ability to use your own, and I can double check that in a moment for you. So save changes. We're going to close this. And now we have our original photo strip and our vintage photo strip. So I'm going to save that again. I'm going to come back here. I'm going to hard refresh this so we get the update. We're going to do our second photo strip. Something else that I'm really excited about, but I'm going to do this one more time. It's on staging right now. I've been testing it with the team. We have the ability to change these icons, which is obviously very helpful because these icons as they are right now are not very user-friendly. So I'm going to take my first photo. I'm going to put up number 1 just so we can see. And my zoom is doing a thing where it's actually changing the focus on stuff. So we'll see how that comes through. I'm going to do 2 here so we can see it's frame 2. And then Mitch, or I believe it was Mitch, you asked, see how the ratio of this capture has changed now?
Right.
So this will be 3.
Nice. Nice. Cool. Thanks.
Yep, you bet.
I like how that's automatic. You don't have to actually define that or set that to match the photo spot.
Yep, correct. And then we have a new UX UI that's currently in production and hopefully launching. I hate to give dates because that's like the fastest way for it not to happen. But a new UX UI where you will have the ability to choose between a few different variables for how that happens. So here you'll see that I forgot to move that layer back on top. So I'm on top of these layers currently. So I'm all the way in the front. So I'm going to go back in to my template. my layers, and now I'm going to remember to move that to the top this time. And also, since you saw what that looked like, we're gonna now go ahead and add one of those imperfection layers again. So let's go ahead and add in, keep it simple with just one for now. I'm gonna pull this up over the entire frame. And with these, it's not as important to keep the ratio perfect. And I'm gonna go back over into Photoshop and just test again which of these that I liked with the full setup. So this is soft light, overlay is a little bit harsh, screen could work, multiply doesn't, darken, normal. So let's head over back in and let's try soft light here. So when I go into my blend mode, I'm going to pull soft light and I'm going to save that. And so for anyone who's tried to do things like this before in the past with Photoshop, this is something that I'm most excited about, because you would have had to go into this and remove all your blacks and figure out what to leave as streaks and figure out how to do your edges as PNGs. But now that we have these transparency layers, you can really do so much more. I'm super, super excited about that. So now go back in here. And pop over here. And we're going to do this one more time. Number 2. And last but not least, number 3. And this whole process. So while we're doing that, Sandra had a question about custom fonts. So let's just pop over to and find a free vintage old font, free. Let's see what we got. The font. So I want something that looks a little bit distressed because this is also distressed. So let's see if we can vintage. Groovy fonts, that does not sound like it's going to work for us. Okay, let's actually just pull back over here and let's use Circus. I'm going to unzip this. It's a TTF, cool. And now let's come back. Oh, here we go. So you'll see that we have those light streaks. It wasn't as successful as I would have liked, but I think you all get the idea. And I'll show you another example of what we can do to make that look a little bit better here. So now let's go back into our template. I'm going to go to my layers. I'm going to just delete this for now. We'll come back in a moment. I want to make sure everything is locked so I don't bungle anything, and I want to add text. Now I'm going to add a custom font. So I'm just going to simply go into that folder, PhotoStrip demo, and pull my Circus custom font. There we go. I'm going to select it and now use it. And let's call this PhotoStrip. Very exciting. Let's center it. And then we can just pop this down here. So this could also be a token, meaning that we could have a survey and you could put in what this word is, like we've been doing for all those baseball cards. And now I'm going to go back over here and let's just find like old scratched paper texture.
Thank you. Is there a way to have your custom font as the button font as well?
As the button font, which button are you referring to?
Like in the user workflow?
So this right here, you can make a graphic for. For these fonts, let's see.
Or even on the globals, you know how on the globals you can pick your font for the entire workflow?
For the globals, I don't think that there is currently a way to do that. There's a bunch of the web approved fonts and like Google approved fonts. So in doing these things, it's always a matter of like how much customization do you want versus like what could break. So with a lot of these fonts, I think even in the example that I sent you, Sandra, yesterday, I pulled a font that looked great online. And then when I implemented it, many of the characters were missing. So for that area, we've chosen to lock it down. If that's something that's really important to you, there's a few ways around it currently. One, for example, the media screen could be a video or an image without this text. So you could add, so here, let's just do this over here. Let's do,
Thank you so much.
great. So let's do this as, I think it's 1280 by 1920. So let's now do in our, I don't have this Circus font installed on my computer. I just uploaded it. So let me just pull. Let's just do this. So I can now do tap to. If any of your clients actually wants to use this font, hopefully you can afford to fire them. If anyone ever asked for Papyrus, same. But so now I can take this image and let's say I want to make it look like this. I can now pull this behind and this could also be a video so you can have animation to it. So now I'm going to go ahead and export this. Oops. Let's go to the start screen. Now let's go here. Where did I put it? And I can do this on a per device basis as well. So now when I save this and refresh over here, you would have your custom font on your start screen. And if you were to put text back in here, it would duplicate up. So I would not add text there in this particular use case.
Thank you. That makes sense.
Yep. Did that answer?
Yeah, I get it, especially because some clients are really picky, but there are certain things you can't customize. I understand.
Yeah, and believe me, we are no strangers to picky customers. That's why we have so many levels of customization. When it comes to interface fonts, I do tend to stay like neat and clean on that, but definitely hit that feedback button if that is something that you have frequent requests for. Definitely, it's something that shouldn't be incredibly hard to do. And probably take 2 to 4 weeks to implement. So we'll go ahead and save that again. And then we will pop back in here into edit mode. And I remember I was looking for just some scratchy paper, if I remember correct, and we started talking. So I want here something that is just black and white. So I'm going to go into my tools, color, black and white. And the reason I want something just black and white is because I don't want any color interfering. I just want the black to come through. So let's do this one because it's mostly white. This is, let me see if I can find a, just for the Creative Commons license. let's, oh, I think they were lying about it actually being free. So let's, for the time being, just copy this image here. We'll bring it into Photoshop. And now I really just want to pull out the whites in this. So I really just want these imperfections. So now this is going to be that photo strip that you found in the attic that your grandparents have been cherishing. And let's call this imperfection 3. We'll go back into this and let's upload a new image. Imperfection 3. And I am going to just do the graphic design no for this demo and pull this out. And I'm going to simply make this multiply. So now we're going to get that streak down the entire side. The other thing that I love is we have pixels right here. So you could do paper texture, and you can start to find these different items to use right here within, or scratches. Let's see. If you get the right search terms, there's a lot in here. Some of the images that I found earlier were actually from Pexels, so they do have them in there. So save this image. And now let's actually, since Sandra brought it up, let's remove this and let's call this just background. Or interface. And now let's go up to the global settings, change the background here, and let's upload that. And there we go. Save, save. And now going to hard refresh over here. And so we have our tap to start. I'm going to pop in. I'm going to do the vintage photo strip again. And now you'll see that we have that background that I just assigned that's going to follow us through the experience. I'm going to capture that. 1, 2, and oops, that fun zoom feature. 3. And while that renders out, are there any questions before we open the floor to questions about anything? Are there any questions on the photo strip that we've designed together today? I'm going to go ahead with that silence as no. Are there any questions about anything that we didn't talk about today?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So I'm new to the Pro. I just signed up yesterday, and I'm trying
Yep.
to use one of your tried and true AI templates. And
Sure.
on there, I'm starting to wonder if my system isn't fully active yet, because I don't see where I can customize the template.
Okay, so great question. So if you're using something from this page, these are all the simple flow, and they have everything built into them from start to finish. If you wanted to customize, so for example, I believe, Sandra, you're working with the play ball. Is that correct?
Yes.
So yeah, if you wanted to open this up, create it here, this is a simple flow. And what I mean by that is in your AI settings, you can simply just choose an AI output. You can, if you wanted to, go into here and change your selected prompt, and you can add a different overlay or a different ratio to these. But this is not the template builder. This is not where you want to get in under the hood and start playing and customizing. If you wanted to, for example, use, let's go back into our photo strip that we were just doing. If you wanted, for example, to bring AI into this, we could create a new template. And let's go ahead, we'll just stay with the 2x6. We know that we have that overlay here. So let's go ahead and just bring that in. Okay. And we want, let's say 3 vintage baseball players in it. So we're going to add a capture that is 1-to-1. And because we do not need this capture that I'm showing you right here, this is the original image. Or actually what we can do here, let's do it this way, just so we have it. We can open this up. So this will be our first capture, which is going to be not AI. Then we can add an AI filter. And this is where you would select your prompt. So we'd now select baseball. And in this case, we want 2 outputs. Let's put one down here. Let's put one down here. And I'm going to go ahead and put this over the top. I'm not, oops, sorry, I just kicked the plug on my extension cord and now all the sharing got wacky. Can you guys still see my screen?
No.
Okay, it'll be back in 1 second. This is how I spend most of my day, is accidentally kicking the plug that goes into a loose socket behind my desk and waiting patiently for it to come back. Everyone see it again now?
You're back.
Cool. So what I've done is taken the capture, which is this top one, the original photo, and the 2 AI outputs, and I've put it behind our overlay image. I'm going to lock these in place. And this is where those overlays get really powerful that I was showing you, because we can now take another image. We're going to come back. We're going to add one of those imperfection layers again. Let's do imperfection 3.
So just to clarify, if we want to have a custom template, we don't go from one of your already made ones. We start by ourselves, like exactly how you're showing.
Yes. 100%.
Wonderful. Thank
Yep.
you.
No worries. So let's see which of these look best in. I think soft light once again makes the most sense here. So now let us blend mode. Let's make this into soft light and go back to my layers. And I'm just going to pull this behind. So that soft light is behind the other. And let's call this baseball photo strip. And we'll save this. Go ahead and save this again. And let's hard refresh here. And let's go ahead and take that photo. So we're going to go into 3. So now I'm taking my first photo. I'm going to answer my questions. Red. And because this is in the cloud, it's not actually going to render while we wait. It's going to go up to the cloud, and we can pop back over here and wait for it to process. And while that's processing, does anyone have any other questions about anything at this point?
I had another question.
Yes, Sandra.
So I saw when we can select the AI, it was saying either faster or slower, which is, better quality. How different is the quality?
It's going to vary from prompt to prompt. You'd have to do tests to see on your side which you prefer.
Okay, and I had one other question. I know that this was kind of touched on last week about the printing, but I didn't see it as an option as far as sharing.
Yep. So printing, there's a let's wait for this to come through. There's a few ways to do printing. We have a print server, which is available. It is in beta. I don't love it. I'll be honest with you. I've been testing our newest print server, which is has significant improvements, but it is not yet available because it is not battle tested. That should be coming through in the next week or 2. The easiest way to do it now is with a watch folder app, in my opinion. So you can use DNP Hot Prints, which is free software made by the DNP folks, the people who make the printer. And if you do have specific questions about that, we do have a support article, which I can dig up and share with you when we hop off.
That'd be great. And then as far as the print server, is that used with a laptop?
Yes.
Thank you.
So here is our AI output. We're going to have the original photo at the top and then the 2 AI outputs after. And the last thing I'll show you on this is, you see, this is where like those colors really do nice, like kind of tweaky things to make it look a little bit more vintage across the board. And the one last thing I'll show you before we hop is if you had wanted to do the same output and only have AI, you can do that simply by going into layers, capture, settings, and you could make it 4 AI outputs. And you can let me get back to my capture. We're selecting a few things here. Okay, and I can hide the original, so the original does not show up. And then we can do this. And then we do end up with this sort of rogue 4th image because of the way the AI works. It works in multiples. So we can just shrink this down or make the opacity 0 so it doesn't show up. I know it's a little bit of a silly quirk. And then we can pop that back in. And you'll see here right now, the way this is set up, we have our imperfection layer behind the top one, but over these 2 bottom ones. So by doing that, you'll be able to see the difference. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. And we'll take this one last photo together. Hard refresh on this. And let's just do a different color this time. Finish. And then that's going to pop through.
Real quick on the the short or the long term, what kind of timing is behind those? If you do the low grit, you know.
At this
guess.
point, it's almost negligible, honestly.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you'll see with the AI took 33 seconds on that last one for 2 outputs and 1 minute from the time the image was received to fully turned around. And I think it's averaged up to a minute here. So that includes receiving the image, processing the image, making the composite with all the other assets, and sending it back down.
When it no, this is more of another thing. So if I need to have 2 stations going, I need to have 2 licenses, correct?
That is correct, yes.
No kind of discounts for that extra one for per event?
There are discounts. I don't know them off the top of my head. I think they kick in at 5 licenses. But if you
Okay.
go in here, we can do this. While we're waiting for that, we can go into billing. And I know for the license, sorry, the tokens, you can see the pricing differences here. Let me check
Right.
on. Oh yeah, so if you start to see the discounting here.
Okay.
So the discounts get pretty steep once you hit 5, 10, I think 15 licenses.
Okay. Another question, the print server that you have, is that something that's wireless? So it's kind of, you know, are you using like air print or something of that nature, or?
No. So what we've decided was, and one of the reasons why it's getting rebuilt is for a print server to work, it has to just be perfect always, right? Or as close to perfect. We have so many things on site that are working against us, whether it's the internet or any number of different types of interference. So what we've done is we've set up a printer server that utilizes a laptop.
Mhm.
And with that, one of the things that I think is the coolest is you have a big green light that shows you as soon as you plug those two things and get them on the same network, they should connect, and you'll see that. And you'll also get alerts of things disconnect. So we have not gone the AirPrint route because I think that this is a more valuable use case, in my opinion. If AirPrint is very important to you.
No, it's
um,
not.
Okay.
I want something that's, reliable and fast, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So in my opinion, that's why we've done it this way. So I think I can show what it looks like, but I don't have a printer on this computer, so you're not going to see it set up. But it's pretty straightforward. You have test print settings, and you would have an immediate
Acknowledgement.
acknowledgement that it is set up both here and in your devices here, which this account doesn't have access to the print server because it's a test account, but you would see it here, an acknowledgement of those things.
And the current
Is
print
that-
server that you have, does it not work? I mean, I know you're kind of down
Okay,
for it.
so it works. I don't love the way it works.
Because
So there's a lot of troubleshooting that had to go into it day of. So I would never send my team out into the field with it, which is why we're reworking it, if that makes sense. So we can make it work. I don't love it. I'm not proud of it. We have something coming through that I'm very proud of and is working really well. We're just testing the last handful of things on it. So the way printers work, and one of the things that's unique to the photo printers is that there's only a handful of people in the world who use them, compared to a desktop printer, which thousands and thousands and millions of people use. So we're really utilizing technology that's from like the 90s. Like literally they haven't improved it. So they keep trying to change sort of the back end of the printers to work with modern computers, right? And especially with the DNPs, they're finicky. A normal printer, if you give it a dimension that's like a micron off, and just so if people don't know what a micron is 1,000th of a millimeter. So we're talking like teeny tiny. If you're off by a micron on a DNP, it will just let that photo sit in your outbound.
Right.
So if someone on their computer changes the printer settings in a way that doesn't seem wrong, it can throw that stuff. So we're putting in a bunch of safeties. So you have to select from, essentially paper sizes and things like that to make sure that you don't have those issues.
Gotcha.
So for the time being, DMP hot print is my go-to. We've been using it. We love it. And then within the next 2 weeks, we should have the Pictor server ready to go again.
Now the Pictor server, will that support having multiple connections, multiple stations? So multiple
Yes, it
iPads
would.
connecting to it?
Yes, it would support multiple iPads. It would not support multiple printers. You would have to use like a daisy chain app, which is essentially like are you curious about that, Fred, or do you know already?
Yeah, no, that's good. I know that.
Okay, yeah. So for anyone who doesn't know what I'm talking about, you can set up a sort of virtual printer that is an app of itself that will then shoot out prints to different printers in a row. So if you're doing an event where you have to be printing multiples at the same time, you can have multiple printers servicing, so you're not waiting for each of them. It'll take job 1 and go to printer 1, job 2, printer 2, etc., and daisy chain down the line.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Great. Any last questions before we hop off for today?
I had a question.
Yes, Sandra.
For the terms and conditions, if they say disagree, does it still let them do the experience?
No, because they have not agreed to your terms of service.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, that's I hope what you were going for.
Yeah. Well, that's what other platforms do. So I was just curious if it was the same.
Yep. So in one of the things that's nice though is you can change the language about it. So if I add a terms of service here, I can instead of disagree, I can say something like, or hold on, no, this is the disagreed text. Unfortunately, you may not participate without agreeing. So you can change what that text is. And so I'm just going to say dummy here so you can see that I've done
We can't
that.
see your screen, by the way.
Oh, sorry. Thanks, whoever shouted that out. Let me bring it back up. So let me just, I'll delete this just so we can see it again. I'm going to add a terms of service. And one of the things that I like about this is everything's fully customizable. So you can say, I'm just adding some silly words in here so you know. Can't play. And like, I wouldn't suggest in this case changing agree, but you could change this to let's play ball. Disagree. So now when you come through here, I still have it open. I have my terms of service. And if I disagree, it's going to say, sorry, you can't play ball without agreeing. And then I can say, okay. And then it starts over. If I disagree, now I can go back and say, let's play ball. Cool. Well, thank you. Thank you, Sandra. A lot of great questions today. Thank you to everyone who came. It's great to see familiar faces again. Mitch, I know we owe you an answer. Actually, while you're here, Mitch, if you are still here, let me show you.
Yes, sir, I am.
I think I have webhooks on this account. Nope.
Oh, yes. I heard back from Evelyn this morning.
Oh, great. Yeah, I know we're trying to get you a better answer than the answer I could give you, but I can show you really well. I just don't know the tech speak to share. So let me go in, and for anyone who's curious, Mitch last week asked about webhooks. And what that means is that you can share information from your event live in real time with Zapier or other places. So you can, for example, send an email address to MailChimp directly. So quite simply, we set this up in a way that I would love to take credit for, but it's pretty elegant in the sense that if you put webhooks up top, it can only give you the information that it's collected thus far. So if I put it down here, now you'll see that we have the ability to send the output or custom values. So now if I add in above that a survey, if I add in above that a share screen, you'll see that those things have now automatically populated. So you can send the survey data, the email address. If you had SMS set up, you can send the phone numbers. You can also put in custom headers, an email address to notify of failures, places to put the custom URL, get, post, etc. And you could have multiple webhooks if you need to fire different places.
You're gonna make me a fanatic.
Great, that's what I like to hear. There's a lot of features in here that we've built that I'm a fanatic of, and I'm glad to hear other people are interested and excited as well.
Cool, thanks for that.
Yeah, you bet. And we're in the process of writing a human speak support doc. And as soon as that's ready, we'll get that over to you.
I'm not interested in that part.
Okay, well then maybe makes sense to me.
I mean, yeah, I mean, that's good to have. It's always a good reference, but yeah, as a bit of a geek, I love being able to see that even just got me all excited.
Yeah, there's other, I don't know if you got to peek in theirs, but there's other cool stuff. We have a paywall, a ton of other really cool things.
I did see something about that. Yeah. It just kind of, yeah.
Yep. So Outsnapped has a bunch of sit-in photo booths, and the popularity goes up and down. And we're pretty excited to install them some places where we can just do profit shares with folks. Mostly, I'd love to have people using them because I love the outputs of them and the experience, but I also love that whole room back in my warehouse to use for other things as well. Cool. Well, thank you everyone for coming. Like I said, so awesome to see familiar faces. It means a lot to us that people are using the software and also coming to these calls and interacting with us. As always, we have the help in the bottom right, and that feedback is so important. Let us know the things that you want to see and why you want to see them, and we'll do our best to get them to you. And I always say this and I feel corny saying, but it's like the most exciting thing for me is to see what people are making with this software. So please keep on playing. And if you have any questions, you know where to find us. Cool. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, man. Later.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. Good luck with your event this weekend.
Thank you. You'll probably hear from me a lot.
Sounds good. I can't wait to see the output.
Me too. Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.